Hey folks, welcome back. So in this video we're going to go over how to drain your entire LF1, get all the water out. So whether you're wanting to clean and or get ready to start a fresh batch of nutrients, this is a little tutorial on how to help you do that. One first housekeeping, we recommend you watch the video all the way through before getting started. That way you know what's coming and what to look out for before maybe accidentally spilling a little bit of water, which we all want to avoid. Next, a few things that you're going to need are, first of all, a hose, a place or a way to drain the water into. In this case, we're going to show you how to do it into a 5-gallon bucket, as well as a towel for those accidental spills. First thing I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to set the PLC to have the pump off, right? So the pump, at least the way we recommend it, is typically 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. So we're going to set it to 0 minutes on and 60 minutes off. So that way the pump's not turning on when you don't want it to turn on, right? So here, I'm going to go to the PLC, hit the set button, hold it down for a few seconds. Wait till the hour in the time block starts blinking. Then I'm going to hit set a few more times. And then when the time in the first column of the pump starts blinking, which I have at 30, I'm going to take it down to 0. So again, that's 0 on, 60 off. Hold down set, which basically means now the pump is always off. Okay? So next, I'm going to go over here. In this video, we're going to walk through one way to drain the unit. There's a second way, so then we'll talk through that at the end of the video. So in this first one, what we're going to do is we're going to drain the first grow tray, or L2, into our reservoir, pump the water out, and then go ahead and do the same thing for the third and fourth level. Right? So what we're going to do is make sure that there's enough space in the reservoir for us to drain L2. So currently we're about half full in our reservoir, so we're good. If you're even 3/4 or just shy of max capacity, you'll probably be fine. Of course, anything below that, you're all good. So what I'm going to do, just lift the lid here of our already harvested tray, pull out the little rubber stopper that's inside, and then I'm just going to let it sit and let it drain. It's just going to take a few minutes. It's pretty well empty. If you want, you can actually just tilt this up slightly, kind of get some last little bit of water out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over here, put the rubber stopper back in. That way, when I take the tray out here in a minute, again, avoiding some spills. Before that, though, I'm going to actually take the lid off the reservoir and just go ahead and set that aside. Come back over here. I'm going to take the hose out of the tray, just kind of direct it here into the reservoir. And then, as you've seen in earlier videos, to remove the grow trays, you tilt them up slightly, rotate them. We got the tray out this way, so I'm going to go set it aside over here. Okay, so I come back here. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove what I'm calling the end cap off the end of the pump, which we pull our pump out here. You'll see it's at the end of this pipe. Just simply rotate. It'll come off very easily. Set aside. Then I'm going to get my hose right here and attach the one end to the pump. What we're going to want to try to do when we're securing the hose to the pump is to make sure that the hose is that feed into the grow trays stay in. So that's just going to make the draining process much easier. If they do come out, just go ahead and reattach it, or if you have a second person helping you, maybe they can just put a finger on it until you reattach the hose afterwards. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and do our first draining of the reservoir. First thing, or one thing that may help, is actually if you get the pump out, you can take the filter off, and then just set it aside. The filter is covering the intake, so this is actually the most important part of what you want in the water. That's going to be what's taking the water into the rest of the pump, through the hose, into your bucket or what have you. Again, making sure the hoses are attached. If you're not doing it in a bucket, if you're close enough to a sink or a bathtub, or even you have a hose long enough that can take it to your yard, or send the water down a storm drain, that's fine. You won't need to worry about this. On that note, the water is safe to put down a drain or a storm drain or into your lawn, so no need to worry about that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the PLC. Currently we have the pump off, right? 60 minutes, 0 minutes on, 60 minutes off. We're going to reverse it so that way the pump is on 60 minutes, off 0. It's going to pump pretty quickly actually. So within like a minute, this whole tray is going to be drained. So shortly after you set the pump to be 60 on, 0 off, I suggest you get the PLC ready to then flip it again so that it's 0 on, 60 off. That way, in case the bucket's starting to get filled and or when the reservoir is sufficiently drained, the pump's not sucking in air. Okay, so go ahead, pump back in the water, set the PLC. All right, hours blinking, rotate, get it to where the pump on is blinking. You hit the minus button once, and then you're going to switch, right? So now it's going to be 60 minutes on, 0 off. I hold down the set, and you can hear the pump going. Got some water coming through. All right, so we're in business. Okay, so the bucket's starting to get a bit full. I can see there's still a little bit of water left in the reservoir. Remember, this is a 7-gallon reservoir and a 5-gallon bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and get the PLC ready. Go the other way. Hit up once, 0 on, 60 off. Hit set. The pump turns off. Okay, so we still have a little bit of water left in here, which is, again, we're not a problem. So I'm going to just set the hose back in here. And then if you have a second bucket, you can go ahead and bring that and continue the process. If not, go ahead. You can, again, dump this down your sink or your tub or onto your lawn or outside down a storm drain. And it's all good. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm actually going to start draining the 3rd and 4th trays, because we probably have enough to fit 2 plus 2 plus what's down in here. It's not going to max over 7, and then we'll drain the next 2 trays. So I'm going to go ahead and just empty this. All right, so drain that. Now I'm going to go ahead, pull the stoppers from the 3rd and 4th trays. And if you're staging your harvests and you want to drain or clean the water, but maintain some plants, it's totally fine. That's why we left these here. So you can drain the whole system, clean the trays. The media and the roots will retain enough moisture and nutrients that it's not going to be a problem when you set it aside for as long as you're going to need to clean this. So we're all good there. So now we're going to let the reservoir fill up, let these two drain, and then go ahead and clean or remove the water from the reservoir. Okay, so once our third and fourth trays are sufficiently drained, we're going to go back here and put the rubber stoppers back in. Keep in mind that these two trays are going to take a little longer to drain because it's 2 versus 1. So 5-6 minutes, not a problem. Okay. So now these two trays are drained. We're going to basically repeat the same process we did this last time. So I'm going to get my hose back out, my bucket. Make sure if a hose comes undone, I reattach it. Okay. All right. Okay. Once the reservoir is almost, if not entirely drained, then you'll be good to go. What you can do then is you can remove this last bit of pipe, and then we can take the reservoir out without having to worry about water spilling, and we can then remove the rest of the water there and clean the reservoir. Of course, before we do that, let's remove the hose. So I'll just set that right there. And then put the end cap back on the end. Put the filter back on the intake. And then you can set your pump here on the side as you're removing the reservoir and dumping the rest of the water and cleaning it there. So once it's all drained, then you can go ahead, take the remaining 2 trays out, pull off the lids, clean them up, which we're going to get to in our next video. As an alternative way to drain, instead of starting by draining the first level of grow tray into the reservoir, pumping out, and then doing the next 2 and pumping that out, what you can do is, especially if the reservoir is already quite full, it is at that 3/4 to full range, maybe you want to start there. And what you're going to do is you'll remove the lid from the grow tray, reservoir, and you're going to do the same thing in terms of setting up your hose to the pump. So you're going to remove the end cap, attach the hose, set the PLC, and drain that way. And when you sufficiently drain the reservoir, which may take a couple buckets, turn the PLC off, then you can drain all 3 of the grow trays. Because each one holds 2, that's 6. You'll have enough space in your reservoir. At that point, you'll be able to remove the second tray, maybe able to see what you're doing a little bit easier. But in that case, that's another approach to being able to drain your LF1.